Showtime.
Music.
All right, welcome everyone to the Ninja Wealth Exchange podcast. We're on episode 18, and today we're going to talk about commercial real estate investing. So we got a special guest here, Calvin Wong. How you doing, Calvin?
Doing great. How's it going, guys?
Good. How's it going, Johnny?
It's good. It's good. Busy, but super good.
Nice. So, a lot of real estate investors, they start with residential real estate investing, right? And there's a number of reasons why, but this episode, we're going to try and demystify kind of the mystery around commercial real estate, right? Why do people kind of shy away from that? Why do some investors never get into it? So we got a great guest here, Calvin from Alaska, Texas here, right? How's that ice? Did it melt yet?
Funny enough, I was just shoveling like some ice in front of my house just now. Even though like the temperature has went above freezing, but because the way the trees and the shade, so yeah, I mean, I'm still messing with it right now, but it's all good. Yeah. You get to do this once a year.
Right. That's I saw your kids playing in the snow and all that. So good fun stuff.
Yeah.
So Calvin is a longtime commercial real estate practitioner, 20 years in the business, been doing it since he was 5, essentially, right? So
thank you.
You sold what? You sold like $100 million in sales volume this year, right?
Last year, 2025 was 63.
Okay. So almost 100 million. We can almost call you the $100 million man. You're at career-wise, you're at 800. You're probably at 900 or so now, right? 900 mil.
Yeah.
So yeah, almost $1 billion in state, right? So
that's amazing.
And so Calvin, you're a CCIM designation. What does that stand for?
So CCIM is the short of Certified Commercial Investment Member. So just like in financial industry or accounting, in financial you have CFA, in accounting you have CPA, and in commercial real estate you have this designation called CCIM, Certified Commercial Investment Member. So the way to get it is you have to go through several courses, CCIM 101, 102, 103, 104. Each course is about a week long, like 4 days, full days. And then you have a test. But before you get your designation, you have to submit a portfolio of your transactions, like commercial real estate transactions, because this is not just like academia, right? So a lot of time you can get certification just by attending class and then pass the test and you get the certification. But this is more on kind of like, academia plus real life experience. So it's a great combination. So for those that obtain this CCIM designation, that they not only have the knowledge, but they also have the credibility of transacting commercial real estate. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's cool. So it's not just like just some MBA type of thing. You actually have to qualify production wise, right? You have to prove that you're worthy of that title, right? Of that designation. So that's awesome, man. And you were you were a past president of CCIM North Texas. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the North Texas chapter. So we are actually one of the largest chapter in terms of membership count. So we have, when I was the president, we have almost 600 members.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a pretty big deal, and at the same time, just kind of shameless plug. I was the first Asian American president for the chapter.
Let's go.
Nice. Yeah, that was about the same time that I had met you. We connected at EXP. I got my We Partner shirt on here today, just for you.
Thank you.
The Panda Pack EXP network, right?
Mhm.
Out of DFW here. And so, Calvin, just to start off, to learn a little bit more about your background, how did you personally get into commercial real estate? Why did you choose commercial over residential?
So I didn't actually pick residential or commercial. It just happened that I got an opportunity at Goldman Sachs. So I started my career at Goldman Sachs. I was in the division called REPIA. So we have a fund that we invest or acquire commercial real estate properties. So basically, I just happened to be, working on commercial deals, and I was with Goldman for 7 years. Started off as an analyst and worked my way up to vice president. So that's where I got all my experience and analytical skills. And when I left Goldman, so it's just natural for me to just stay in the same business. I mean, I always wanted to transact, do my own deals, acquire my own portfolio. So that's kind of the short of it. So I never really do residential. So it's just commercial.
Okay. And so we're going to get into, the many myths of commercial real estate here now. And some of these are right away. As an investor, we're driving around our city, right? Wherever you live, there's commercial real estate everywhere, right? So retail shopping strips, industrial warehouses, all this type of stuff, medical offices, So automatically, most of us think, man, how does somebody ever get to the point where they can afford something like that, right? You got to be rich to involve and invest in this type of real estate, right? Is automatically what most people think. So we're going to get into that. The other thing is that commercial is so much more complicated. I mean, just looking at how big these buildings are compared to a house, and most people, most regular people are comfortable with they can relate to buying a house because they've lived in a house or they've bought a house, right? So residential kind of makes sense. It's the safer bet, right? Are there any other common myths that you've come across, Calvin?
Well, like commercial is only for the rich. You need to have a lot of money to go invest. So you touch on that, and yeah, commercial. It's you have to know like someone to get a deal, or you have to know somebody to get into it. So those are the kind of common myth that like I have to know somebody. I have to like come from a certain families or connections to get into this industry. I have to be have a lot of money or rich to buy commercial property. So those are the few main ones that this is a common myth. We can.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll break that down a little bit later, but that sounds good so far that you don't have to actually have those things, right? So Johnny, you want to dig a little bit deeper?
I got some questions. So like a lot of people start with residential first. Do you know why they would start with residential first instead of going right into commercial first? Because I heard that it's actually more profitable if you just jump right into commercial.
I guess I can think of a few reasons why. Mainly first off is we all, I mean, live in a house, And it's natural that when you go look at real estate properties, you just tend to stick with what you know the most or comfortable with. And plus, it's not that intimidating, right? Because like, you know, a lot of us, we read a lot of investment books and things like that, and that there are more common knowledge in investing in residential than commercial. And plus, it's just like, okay, just go buy a house and rent it out, get a cash flow, and wait for 15 years or 30 years, whatever the mortgage is, paid off. All of a sudden, like, you get a house for free because the tenant has been, helping you pay the mortgage. So that's
So
more.
true.
It's like in a sense, it's kind of like a formula that's, our parent. We see our parents were doing it. Buying, and then it's just natural. Was just okay. Yeah, I have some money. I can put 20% down or 15% and go get a loan, and just rinse and repeat. Right. So it's like it's a safer bet because real estate will never go to zero compared to stock markets. And so that's why, like, a lot of people are just continue to do that. And
Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. Like, so what I see is, like everybody knows someone that owns a home. Everybody knows someone, and they know more people that probably own residential rentals than they know people that own commercial property, right? So it seems more natural to move in that direction. Um, and I think that, like it's simple for people to go and get a residential loan versus trying to get something commercial, right? So I guess my next question would be, at what point do you think investors start to shift their mindsets to do commercial instead of just doing residential?
when they got tired of, you know, fixing toilets, right? Or you got tired of the calls that coming in at midnight. I don't know. For some reason, those calls from the tenants always happen around midnight or you're on vacation, right? I mean, oh, the AC broke, toilet backup while you're on vacation in Disneyland. Oh, I don't think, right? So I guess I can, like some of my clients that they shift from residential to commercial is because they just got tired of managing the properties with the like complaints and things just keep on breaking left and right, and
So
then
you
there's
don't deal with that as much in commercial then? Like, the constant calls and stuff like that. You usually have a property manager or something.
correct. So I mean, commercial real estate is pretty broad. You touch on that. You have
Yeah.
multifamily, you have hotel, you have office buildings, industrial, retail. For the most part, so let's talk about retail. The tenants is responsible for anything inside. So what that means,
Mm,
if
yeah.
AC broke, they call their own AC guy. If the toilet back up, they call their own plumber. So on and so forth. That's on retail. But hotel and multifamily, you still have to manage it because,
Right.
it's just the nature of the property. But usually, warehouses, like retail strip centers, um, some of the
Even
office.
office. Yeah, yeah, even office. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
So,
that's super cool.
so what are some other differences? So we talked about tenant relationships, a little bit different. How about, like you mentioned, the headaches, right, of residential evictions? How does that handled in the commercial world?
Well, there's a term called locked out. So you can lock out the tenants if they are non-paying.
Mm,
A lot of time, like they have their equipment inside, things like that. There's things of value, and when you, I mean, that's a short answer. Before you even lock them out, you have to send them like a notice of default,
Sure.
right.
and then you can proceed with like a lockout notice, and then once you lock out, sometimes like magically, like when you do that, they'll come forward and pay the rent and things like that, right? Because they have to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
open
Mhm.
business.
But I guess we're gonna get down to is like it's faster, that you don't have to get into the legal process. You don't have to send them to court, go through the eviction process system like that, right?
Yeah, so commercial and residential, because residential is there's certain protection towards the
Mhm.
consumer,
Right.
versus commercial is like, hey, it's purely business,
Yeah.
and it's just, and landlord decide what they want to do, and depending upon how your lease is drafted. Again, we don't have a standard like lease agreement. A lot of time, landlord have their attorney draft out the lease agreement, which is favorable to the landlord. So if
Right.
the tenant defaults, landlord can take certain action rather quickly to try to either resolve it or move forward to
Mhm.
you know take the space back and lease it out. So there's less judicial process,
Mhm.
so to speak.
Right, right. And one of the key things you mentioned is there's less rights for the tenant, right? Like in residential, there's a lot of like fair housing rules that as a landlord you have to abide by. If you violate these fair housing rules, man, you're gonna get fined. So,
Yeah. Another example is like, let's say a shopping center, like a multi-tenant shopping centers. Landlord can pick and choose who they want the concept to be in, right? So let's say if I don't want a certain use, like I don't want like smoke shop or I don't want CBD shop, I can just decline it. Versus
Mhm.
residential, like you can't really discriminate.
Right.
So
Okay, okay. And then how about like decision making wise, like from the real estate investor standpoint, what are you seeing from most of your investors that work with you? What is their mindset like? How do they decide, if they're going to do a deal or not? I know on the residential side, it can be very emotional. Like some investors are very like, oh, I want a beautiful house that that's fantastic, and that's going to be so great for my tenants and things like that. What do you see on the commercial side?
yeah, because commercial real estate investment, it's um, for whatever reason people tend to be more business oriented, and
Mhm.
because of that, it's purely about the numbers, right? We always talk about, okay, what's the cap rate, what's the return, things like that. So it's much less on emotional. It's more like, okay, if I were to invest, if I were to put $2 million down,
Mhm.
what am I looking at? What kind of return am I looking at? The next few years, and is it more on the cash flow, less on appreciation, or is it less on the cash flow, more appreciation? So this way when we evaluate on an investment property, we will, kind of walk through the calculation with the clients and investors. So I guess it's more on um, uh, practical and then analytical
Oh,
approach.
Cool. So yeah, I have some questions around that actually. So, like Laura said that, when we have residential people that come through, it's a pretty emotional decision. And you said that from the commercial side, it's more analytical. Now, with the analytical side, do you have clients that are more projection based, or do you have clients that are more actual numbers based, like current numbers versus projections into the future and what could be possible?
Yeah. So um, projection, it's really an art, right? Because when you're doing projection, it's like, okay, do I project that the rent growth is going to be 4% or 5% or 10%? Um, it also comes down to what are you going to do with the property. For example, if you were to buy
Mm,
a property, is there a capital expenditure that you can put into the building? Let's say if you buy a property built in the 80s or 90s,
mhm,
sometimes the seller didn't uh, the seller just never reinvest the capital into repaint the building or whatnot. So
Mhm.
if you were to buy this building and if you have a plan to do the capital expenditure, you can make it at a strategy that, okay, if I were to spend this, I will need to increase the rent to a certain amount. So there's a way to calculate and do the projections
Mhm.
and then kind of figure out, okay, if I were to buy this property, invest a certain amount, put $500,000 to $1 million into renovation, I can project that I want the rent to be this. And
Mhm.
sometimes when you buy the property, because the tenants are on a long-term lease, right? Usually commercial leases have 3 years, 5 years, and 10
Yeah.
years. And a lot of time, the longer lease term, they locked in with a kind of like a minimal rent growth, like 3% or whatnot.
Mhm.
Whereas the market is already took off. So there's really rent that you can unlock, right? Because they are tied with the contract, but once the contract is up, the lease agreement is up, you can adjust it to the market and then
Mhm.
unlock the inherent opportunity, right?
Got it.
The rent. Mhm.
Yeah. So the clients you get, is it like a 50-50 split between those that are projection driven versus those that they just want, when they want to buy something, they want it to be already producing a certain level of percentage of income? Like, do you normally get more of one or the other, or like it just depends on the transaction?
So uh, I'll give you an example on retail. You have those that are what we call a absolute triple net deal, like a freestanding
Mhm.
building, like Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, and like those QSR, right, quick service restaurant. Uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
those are very stable, right?
Mhm.
Usually guaranteed by a corporate. So, for example, if it is a Chipotle, you know
Mhm.
that if you are buying this investment, it's backed by a corporation,
Yeah, got it.
and they sign a long-term lease, like 10 or 15 years. Investment is risk and return. Lower the
Right.
risk, right? Lower the risk, higher the return, right? Well, no, high.
Other way around.
Higher the
Well,
risk, higher the return.
make sure you guys are paying attention.
Yeah.
So because it's backed by a corporate, so the risk is very low, and that's why the
Mhm.
return is lower. Usually, we are seeing
Got it.
the return is like 4 or 5%
Got it.
per year. But you
Mhm.
know that every month the rent is going to be on time into your bank account.
Mhm.
So some investors, they like that because their goal is to not have a high return. Their goal is to preserve the capital.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Versus some investors, they are more aggressive. For example, like usually the investors that are, um, I wouldn't say the triple net are usually for people like the retirees. They just want to have like very safe and stable.
Mhm.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
other type of investors, they want to take a little bit more risk. They wouldn't buy this type of investment. They will want to buy a multi-tenant like shopping center because they can uh, increase the cash flow by injecting capital by renovating the building and then rent it out to a tenant that is willing to pay a higher rent.
Got it. Got
Because
it.
of
Okay.
that, yeah. And that is why for commercial properties, it's not it's hard to flip in a short term because you have to have a time frame for the tenant to have the lease to run through the course of their expiration, right?
Right.
Um, so that's why uh, investment like commercial, it takes some time
Yeah.
to increase the value of the property. And
Yeah, I know someone that does commercial development, right? And he says that most of his projections are like somewhere between 5 to 10 years out, right? And I was like, 5 to 10 years, that's crazy. But for him, that's normal. And he works with way bigger numbers than I do.
yeah, so it's
Um,
commercial real estate investment. It's very interesting because there's so many different moving parts, and there's a lot of opportunity. Depending on what opportunity you're looking at, there's different strategy and different expertise, and that's why it can be very overwhelming for investors that are transitioning from, let's say, residential or like
Mhm,
full time
mhm.
trying to invest in commercial real estate. They can get pretty lost on how to unlock the value, right? Because
yeah, so true.
Calvin, can you explain real quick? I see you are the cap rate Jedi. What is a cap rate for the investors out there that do not understand what a cap rate is?
so cap rate is just a function of the formula is the net operating income divided by the sales price that you pay for a building. So the cap rate is just a snapshot of the return. It doesn't reflect what's going to happen in the future. So usually people use cap rate just to compare like projects,
Mhm.
at the hindsight. Because if you're reviewing a lot of projects, you want to just have some metrics for you to filter down, right? Rather than spending a lot of time on each project. So the cap rate valuation, it's just one like a quick way to kind of filter through uh, the opportunity.
Right.
So
So like for example, I do some kind of like multifamily when I look at multifamily deals, commercials. And if I want to see if it makes sense, I will do the calculation to determine what the cap rate they used. So I'll divide the NOI, the net operating income, by the sales price, what the list price, what they want. And if it doesn't make sense, the cap rate number doesn't make sense with what that property class is. I'm like, hey, this is overpriced or this is a good deal, right? Pretty much, right? Can you kind of talk about cap rate in terms of like you said a little bit earlier, risk versus reward? A low cap rate, what does that mean versus a high cap rate?
So low cap rate, usually the project it's less riskier, right? Meaning it's more stable. A high cap rate, because it's a risk and reward, right? So higher the cap rate means the property has some risk, right? Higher the cap rate, higher the risk. But an investor should not rely a decision just on the cap rate alone, because let's say a project has a cap rate of 10%, but then when you look into further, the tenant is like a just like a local local like business owners,
Right.
Mhm.
Self-managing.
and like you we call it mom and pop, which is
Right.
mom and pop,
Mhm.
and you can see like, okay, it may go out of business at any time.
Mhm.
That's why the cap rate is high, because the seller want to incentivize you to be like, okay, you have a 10%. Let's say if it is a 10% cap rate, what that means is like your return for the first year is 10%. But the thing is, it doesn't tell you what's going to happen in the future, because what if the tenant closed down a month later after you purchase it? All of a sudden, your 10% cap rate is no longer 10%. You have to find another tenant. There's a risk of leasing out the space. You don't. It's hard to know like when it can be leased out if it is not in a good location and whatnot. So there's multiple factors going into it. So a high cap rate, even though it means a higher return, doesn't mean it's a good investment.
Got it. Okay, so I want to transition. So we talked a lot about some of the like investors underwriting, like how to underwrite a deal to be able to kind of have an idea of whether it's good or not. So let's talk a little bit about loans, right? So on the residential side, we have like conventional loans, we have DSCR loans, right? Those are the type of loans that we have. Usually there's a structure behind it. So like you said earlier, if you have, 15% or you have 20% down, you can go ahead and get the type of loans. And it's a typical where you use the sponsor or the, like for you guys would call them sponsors. For us, we just call them the borrower, the person that's buying the unit, right? We just use their credit, right? And they have good credit and they make good income from their job, then usually we qualify them. But like, I know the commercial world's pretty different. So can you talk a little bit about like, how do they look at an individual? How do they, or the person that's buying, the commercial unit? What kind of down payment are we looking at? What kind of loan terms are we looking at? Can you kind of go over some of those things?
Absolutely. I mean, the commercial loans and residential loans is literally night and day. The way they look at the borrower is different than residential loan. Residential, like you touch on, it's like, as long as you have good credit score, you have a good paying job, yeah, you can pretty much will get a loan. Whereas commercial is kind of breaking out into two parts. Of course, the lender is going to focus more on the property itself. What kind of cash flow is generated by the property, the investment property, and then they'll use DSCR to calculate it. Usually it's 1.2 to 1.25 DSCR, right? And then second is they will also underwrite this, like you mentioned, sponsor, right? The person that's going to sign off the loan, they are going to underwrite that borrower by looking at his net worth. So the main focus is on the property, right? What kind of cash flow is going to generate. If it meets the 1.25, and then the next step is to look at the borrower. Is it a U.S. citizen, or is it like foreign investors and things like that? If it is foreign investors, some of the banks they have a very strict criteria that like they absolutely will not lend it to foreign investors, because what happened, it's really hard to find that person, right?
Right. So true. Yeah.
Because the lender is not, they don't want the property, right? They just want the interest from the loan. So yeah, I mean, there's the DSCR, and then the borrower like net worth. It is true that on commercial side, they only lend to people that have money, right? And we all know the bank.
So I take it you need some kind of a down payment, right?
Yes, absolutely. So that's the down payment is calculated based on the DSCR. So if the DSCR is 1.2, 1.25, then your down payment, if the cash flow is able to satisfy that 1.2, 1.25, then your down payment usually is lower. But if it doesn't, then your down payment has to be more substantial, so that the metric will meet that 1.2, 1.25.
Got it. And then on top of that, there is a little bit more flexibility with down payment, because you can have the seller can finance some stuff, right? Like that's allowable in commercial, where it's not as allowable in residential, right?
Correct. So the seller can do seller financing and be on the second position.
Nice.
And then the commercial loan, the loan, like the term of it is usually 5 years.
Yeah.
So 5 years balloon. So what that means is at year 5, borrower will have to either refinance or pay off the loan. Even though the loan term is 5 years, the amortization could be 25 years or
nice
or longer. Yep.
Okay. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. No, those are good. Those are really good. Laura, you want to continue on?
Yeah. So pros and cons, right? Pros and cons of investing on the residential side versus the commercial side. So I'm gonna ask you some questions here. So scaling, what do you think, Calvin, is which one is better?
So I would say commercial is easier to scale
Mhm.
because of the just the number alone. So if you think about like, let's say 10% appreciation on a $500,000 house versus 10% appreciation of a $5 million commercial property, which
Mhm.
one would you rather have, right?
Right.
And that's why it's easier to scale in commercial because the numbers is already big.
Mhm.
So especially when the market is growing, you will want to be on the commercial side because, like I said, if the market is growing 10% on both residential and commercial, you want to be on the side that has a bigger number.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, so I did a little bit of commercial investing, multifamily in my days. And one of the reasons why I decided to go to commercial multifamily, which means 5 units and bigger, is number one, on the residential side, after you get 10 loans, right, you're maxed out. You can't get any more loans, right? So you do have to go commercial loans after that. The other thing is from the scales perspective, 4 units and under, obviously you have less number of units. If some of those goes vacant, for example, if you have a one single family, right? If you're just a single family home investor, that tenant leaves, your income's down to zero, right? Whereas if you have more units, obviously it doesn't hurt you as much, right? 10 unit apartment versus 4 unit, right? And so on. And then also, of course, having that many, can you imagine 10 single family homes versus 10 unit apartment? You got 10 single family homes possibly all over your city, right? So from the
Mhm.
scale perspective, you're running around town trying to take care of all your buildings, right? Whereas you have a one location, you only get that one building to take care of, right? So it seems just to make more sense in that aspect. Um, and kind of like the game of Monopoly, right? We've all played Monopoly, right? You kind of collect your little houses, your little, are they green? They're greenhouses, right? Green, and
Yeah, 4 greenhouses.
then you trade it. When you get enough, you trade it for the big red hotel,
No.
right? It's kind of like that. And then the other more important thing, ROI, right? We talked about return on investment. Obviously, commercial, the numbers are bigger, things like that. But from the standpoint of valuation, right? On the residential side, um, residential properties are only based value wise based on comps of similar sold properties, right?
Mhm.
So, for example, you doing a flip. I mean, if you can't, if the appraiser can't justify the value, it doesn't matter what you try to sell this house for. Somebody using a loan is not going to be able to get that loan for that value, right? So
Mhm.
you're limited on how much forced appreciation you can push into a house, right? Now, Calvin, commercial, how is the value determined?
Yeah, so commercial, it's the valuation comes from the cash flow. The higher the cash flow, the higher the valuation. So two commercial buildings next to each other, if one has a higher cash flow, even though it's next to a building that's like a lower cash flow, like lower price point, as long as you
Mhm.
have a higher cash flow, your valuation is going to be much higher. So the value doesn't dictate by proximity or like comps like nearby, like residential, right? The
Mhm.
residential in the, on the same street or neighborhood, they tend to kind of be, about very similar in price point. But commercial, it's like I said, it's if it is next to each other, but one has a higher cash flow, that building that has a higher cash flow will have a higher valuation.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's very important. I mean, if you can take a underperforming retail shopping strip, for example, right? You put in better tenants, you make it, more money coming through the doors for all the businesses there. your value of your whole strip is going to go significantly up, right? So now everything sounds all rosy and everything, but there are some cons, right? I mean, we talked about, obviously it's more complicated. It can be more complicated, more moving parts. On the financing side, you talked about, yes, you have to have that net worth in order to obtain the loan. What about things like how long does it take to close a commercial deal compared to a residential deal?
On a commercial, generally it's 2 months on a existing building. Usually it's 30 days due diligence and 30 days closing. So it's total of 2 months. During the first 30 days, there's a lot of things to be done. And a lot of time, I always tell my client, hey, the real work actually starts when you go on the contract. Even before negotiating, submitting LOI, negotiating on the sales price and all that, that's some work. But the real work actually start when we go on a contract, because that's where the seller is giving you all the relevant information, like the leases, the financials, phase one report, things like that. And that's where you put your head down and really looked at every single document and to see if anything's that is opposite of what this building, when they market it, if it is opposite of what they talked about, then you got to be really careful about it. That's why it costs more to do due diligence. There's cost into it. The survey, the phase one report, having an attorney reviewing all the leases that's in place. Yeah, I mean that's this is a different game, right? It's a different game than residential. Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes with commercial, I mean, depending what you're doing, what you're investing in, if you're trying to change the zoning or the business purpose, right? Sometimes you have to go talk to the city, right? You got to go to those meetings. You have to kind of like promote what you're trying to do and get it approved, right? By the town and the people around it, right?
Yeah, and the use, if you want to have a certain use where the current zoning is prohibiting at this time, you have to go through a rezoning process that usually take a couple of months. For example, like if you want to convert a shopping centers into having a drive-through, because some of the zoning ordinance or the city ordinance, they don't allow like a drive-through and all that. You have to go through the rezoning process. Another example is like a lot of dry cleaners are closing down, right? Ever since then, that present an opportunity because you're buying a vacant box or building, and then if you want to convert the use, let's say if you want to convert it into just like a poker club or I don't know if
a daycare
or any other use that currently is not allowed, then you have to go through the process.
Right.
But if you know that the use is going to be the highest and best use, and you know that it's going to happen, then you just continue to spend the money, right? Going through the rezoning process, and you put it in the contract, but you want to have a longer due diligence time period because you don't want to close on a property and then not having the rezoning approved. Then you get stuck with a building that's like you cannot use for that. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, one of the cons is definitely bigger chances of returns, but also bigger consequences and for your mistakes that happen. Right. So, yeah, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about Johnny. You can go ask you some more questions here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about popular commercial investment categories. So we know that there are multifamilies, right? We know that there are mixed use properties. We know that there are retails, properties, office properties, industrial, and then of course there's a bunch of different hot topics, right? Like in the recent years, we heard a lot about laundromats. We heard a lot about car washes, uh, self storage. More recently, I've been hearing more about data centers getting big again. What are you seeing that's out there that is kind of like do you have a specific category that you work in, or do you work in all of these categories?
I focus a lot on retail, strip centers, and industrial.
Okay.
Just that's where I specialize in, and plus
Okay.
I own shopping centers and warehouses, so I can
Nice.
really from my experience I can kind of help client go through that um, analytical process. So there's really opportunity in all sectors,
Okay.
and for me, I just focus on retail and industrial, and like I have some you know broker friends or team members that focus on other property types. Um,
What
but it,
what property types do you think produces a better level of income for investors? Whether it be retail, I guess the question would be what retail versus industrial, right? If I was going to get into real estate investing, would it be better for me to go with retail shopping centers, or would it be better industrial, and why, right?
so both are very good in today's market. Retail, even though like the big malls are still struggling, but
Hmm.
the strip centers are actually performing really, really well just because
Nice.
it's the demand is there. Like if you look at almost all the shopping center strip centers, they all have nail salon, they all have dental offices, donut
Yeah.
shop, barber shop, things like that. And
Uh-huh.
that's where like the demand is there because those are the things that you can't really e-commerce can't really kind
Can
of
replace.
take as of yet until who knows, maybe Amazon is gonna do like the mobile nail salon and just send it to your house and then
Gonna
um,
order a barber to come cut my hair.
it, I mean, it could happen in the future, but for now, like, it's the demand for strip centers, the coffee shop and the bakeries, donut shop, restaurants, and those are the demand for the retail strip center, and that's why as long as there's like population growth, uh, we see tremendous growth in the Dallas Fort Worth market because there's a lot of new communities are being developed. Those rooftops. Guess what? They would need those shopping centers. Same thing as industrial. I mean, why industrial? It's in high demand right now because e-commerce, right? E-commerce, everything
Mhm.
that we touch right now, it comes from the warehouse, the distribution centers, and things like that. And then the demands for industrial, not just e-commerce. You also have like a smaller industrial, like you have the demand from your uh, contractors, roofers and plumbers. I mean, they all need warehouse space, and
Mhm.
and and as long as there's population growth, there's always the demand for all that stuff.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I've been seeing like a ton of car washes. Like so many commercial investors are like and really investing hard into car washes.
Yeah. So I have a different take on car wash. The car washes
Sure.
are they are like everywhere. You see them everywhere right now. Is
Mm-hmm.
because it's being funded by a lot of like private equity, right?
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
They go nationwide because it's it's kind of like this. If I have 100 location
Mm-hmm.
and each location each unit, I'm generating $1 million cash flow. So I have 100 location. I'm generating, $100 million, right? I can turn around once I scale it, right, from one location to 100. I can turn around and sell it to like another fund that want those cash flow. So that's kind of like the exit. A lot of private equity. That's kind of like the exit. It's like they scale it to a certain numbers, and then they flip it to a fund that wanted the cash flow. Again, like I'm that's kind of like, but we're starting to see like the saturation, right? How many cars do you need in a city?
Yeah. Seriously, it's crazy. And I don't wash my car regularly. I'm not one of those people who does that. But I got the mailers, right, and the promotions, like when they open one down the street for me. And it's like they sell them like gym memberships now, which is genius. Which is like genius. Automatic money getting taken out, like whether you go or not, right? Like unlimited car wash for a month, right? $20 or whatever it is. Dude, that's crazy because people will never cancel it.
Like me. It's like sometimes I only go like, once or twice a month, and it's just like, okay, I was like, oh man, like if I cancel it, because the thing is like right now, individual car wash, if you go one time, it's like $15, $20 already.
Sure.
And then your membership is like $30. You'd be like, oh man, like, I only need to go 2 times. I'll
that's how they get you.
Like, that's how they get you, right? It's like a everything is on a membership, and like the Netflix model.
Exactly. Which is genius. It's like an app. It's like sight unseen money getting taken out. So car washes are definitely saturated right now. Seeing so many of those. Self-storage used to be really hot, but then those got saturated as well. People, they love to talk about laundromats. Laundromats is boring money, which a lot of people love boring money, right? And so it's easy. You don't have to, there's not a whole lot of thing there. Data centers are kind of the craze. Every single town is talking about, oh yeah, this data center is going to get built, and then you get all the people like not in our backyard. And all all the water resources and all that stuff. So it'd be interesting. Something I saw recently near me is like they call it like in commercial condominiums. I don't know, they look like mini warehouses. Wait, have you seen that? What is that about?
So we call it flex building. So basically, like they build like a building and then they cut it out to like a smaller space, like 1,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet.
Okay.
The reason is flex is because it's really flexible, so you can use it as a garage, right? Because you see those people like the car enthusiasts, like they want to just park their Ferraris or Lamborghini in there, and then kind of like a man cave, right? I mean, they buy it or they lease it because it's a small unit. It's like 1,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet. Like the purchase price is probably like a few $100,000. Manageable, right?
Okay.
And then you can like this, a place where you can park your car and then put like a pool tables and big screen TV, and you can hang out,
right,
friends and whatnot. I mean, there's a wide variety of use. I mean, people use it for their businesses, right? Because they only need like a small office, and then like warehouse to store their inventory and products.
Okay, so makes sense. I mean, especially people like that, people who have money like that, right? A Porsche, a Ferrari, whatever. Obviously, if they live in a subdivision with the HOA, their HOA is not going to allow them to do something like that, right? So if they can afford to buy a nearby little condominium warehouse where they can put a car lift in there and rent around all day, sure, that makes sense, right? And I think one time you talked about a hot area was an industrial. Was it kind of like this, like industrial mixed use, or what were you saying one time?
Yeah, this is it. So flex.
Oh, this is it. Okay.
Because you're catering to like even small business owners. Like they can convert the space into not just garages, but they can convert it into like their studio, like hair salon or or fitness studio, like CrossFit and all that, because it's really flexible, because it's like, you get somewhat high ceiling, and
Yep.
really it's very flexible in the use.
I'm gonna have to talk to you more about that, because I seen that place right down the street from me. It's like 6. It looks kind of like mini pole barns, kind of. And it's interesting. It's like, what? Why would somebody use that, right? And so now that you mention all those things, it makes sense. Maybe if you're like a photographer, right? You have a photography business. Maybe you stage it for your studio, right? And then you can rent it out to other photographers, right? When you're not using it. So we got so many ideas right now going on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, how does somebody break into commercial real estate here? Whether you're somebody who is already an investor in residential, you own like, say, 1 or maybe, I don't know, 5, 20 some, residential homes or investment properties, or you're just brand new into the investing game, you want to jump right into commercial. How does somebody get started? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so I would recommend to do some research. Getting into this, a lot of gurus out teaching some classes or mentorship or community where you can be a part of, is to really get into those and learn, basically get yourself comfortable with how to analyze a deal, right? I mean, the thing is, commercial investment, because the capital requirement is much higher, you don't want to just like, let's say if you have $1 million, you just don't want to just, without knowing anything, just go blindly and buy a property just because the broker said it's a good deal. Then what if it turned out to be a bad investment? You lost it all. So really, to me, I always strongly recommend that, is to talk to different folks in the commercial real estate industry, whether it's the brokers or attorneys, and even bankers that can connect you with some folks that you can talk to and get some advice. And even like get some advice from there's a lot of groups right now in Facebook, right? Just join one of those groups and then just see like what they're talking about, and mainly just get yourself educated first, and then find a trusted advisor, and to find your deals.
Okay, makes sense. Johnny, you want to do the rapid fire round?
Yeah. That sounds good. So we're almost at the top of the hour, so we're gonna go ahead and ask you some questions that we ask every guest. What is your number one ninja skill that you are absolutely the best at and you just crush it with?
My ninja skills, because I've been doing this for so long, it's just kind of intuitively, whenever I drive by a property or I look at a property, I always have a sense of like what that building is worth. So it just kind of naturally come into me, just because I've been looking at deals like 20 years, right? 20 years of looking at deals,
Right.
And it just come naturally. Kind of like your instinct, right? If you're good at a certain thing, or you spend a lot of time, you get that instinct. And just like you guys are very good at your residential investment and mortgage. You tend to know like. So that's what I would say my ninja skills. I can drive by a property and kind of get a sense of the value of the building.
So how do you keep that skill sharp?
Oh yeah, it's by looking at a lot of deals every day. You gotta use it. Your skills. You gotta use it. You gotta sharpen your instinct, and then of course by reading as well. Reading on what's going on in the market. Reading what are being bought and sold, and just keep keep yourself ahead of the curve.
Nice. And then has there been a book that has just absolutely transformed your mind or your business?
So there are a lot of commercial real estate books out there, but it all comes down to the fundamentals of business, because investing in commercial real estate is like running a business. You have to have a business sense. So again, you can have a lot of money and then you can go buy, different commercial properties, and you may still lose it all because you don't have a business sense, right? So it all comes down to the business sense, like how to do certain things. I read all kind of books, mainly on business books and self-improvement, and also mindset too, right? Because the mindset is so important. Like, what do you want in life? Why do you want to invest in commercial real estate? Yes, you can make a lot of money, but what keeps you going and things like that. So that's yeah.
Okay. And then in your city, right? What is a must-try spot to eat at?
In my city?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or maybe the area you work in, right?
Dude, like that's a
So
lot of
you're out of Dallas, right? Allen, Texas, right?
Yeah, so that's my office is in Plano. I live in Allen. Like every time I have investors or clients or friends coming from out of town, is Texas barbecue is the go-to, man. Texas barbecue.
Let's go.
Which spot?
Which spot? I always go to Hot Eight barbecue.
Okay.
Hutchins is good as well. Hutchins barbecue is also good.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like can't go wrong with Texas barbecue.
Nice.
Yeah, Hard Eight. That's where you took us last time, right? With when John's side was there, and then Johnny went too.
Yeah.
So we'll have to try Hutchins next time.
Hutchins.
Yeah. All right. So that pretty much sums up our whole entire interview with you and our podcast here. There's some key takeaways are, like you don't have to be rich, right, to get into commercial real estate. If you need to reach out to Calvin, he'll get you connected, right, Calvin?
Yeah. So really appreciate you guys having me here, and I had a, really enjoy this podcast. Yeah. Time really flies because commercial real estate, it's a very broad topic. I mean, it's really hard to kind of get to the nitty gritty just within an hour. Like I've been in this business for 20 years and I'm still learning something new every single time. And let alone only have an hour just to share. We are just touching the surface because there's so many into it. But really, like commercial real estate, for those that are, wanting to get into commercial real estate, don't think too much. Just go do it, and just really put your, carve out time to learn about it, to be good at it, and then to really invest into it. Because, like I said, would you rather have 10% growth of a $500,000 house, or would you rather have 10% growth on a $5 million property?
Yeah, right? That's so true.
You're putting this, same amount of effort and time, getting a loan, right? The process is very similar, but you get a better. It's more efficient, right? It's more efficient rather than managing multiple houses in different areas. Everything is like one. You can be really, really efficient in it, and then generate the returns that you want, and continue to, often duplicate.
Awesome. Yeah, so I mean, we didn't really clearly answer the question of do you have to be rich to invest, but I guess we kind of like talked about it, but just want to be clearer to people. The way you can do it without you actually being rich is to find the partners, right? As far as like the net worth thing, right? If you have to fulfill a net worth thing, go ask your rich Uncle Calvin, right? To sign on that dotted line in case you No, but right, you'll sign for us.
Yes.
But no, I mean, other things is like you talked about partners, right? Partnerships, right? Go invest your time, go learn from people, and you know, build relationships with people, get into partnerships, because like you said, you might not have $100,000, but you might have 10% to be a 10% owner, right? Into that deal, and that'd be your first one. And then if that, depending on how that goes, you take those returns and you put it in a bigger deal the next time, right? So that's kind of like essentially how you can get into the deals without necessarily being super rich or the person that has to know everything, right? So you don't really have to be that smart either. You can just learn from others, leverage people like Calvin, right? Go and build those relationships with the brokers, the lenders, right? Lenders are amazing. Like when I first tried to break into the multifamily commercial real estate, I was talking to lenders. I was calling them, hey, I'm trying to buy this like 20 unit apartment. What do I need to do to get a loan? Right. And they'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And they didn't really brush me off because I was a brand new newbie. I mean, I told them, don't tell them that. Don't lie. Don't say that you're some kind of super expert investor. They'll figure it out right away when they talk to you. Right, Calvin?
Yeah.
Right. You'll know if somebody's faking it, right? All right. So you ask questions, they don't want to respond, and then that's that. I mean, you just ruined the relationship essentially. So yeah, be humble. Just ask people. The people that you connect with that want to share and teach you, they will share and teach you, right?
Yeah. So one secret, when I first started, if you don't have any money, right? Because commercial real estate, you want to invest in it. If you do not have any money, one secret is to really be very good at finding deals. Focus on finding deals, because if you find a really good deal, there's going to be investors want to invest in it. Just like residential too, right? If you find a deal like, hey, this equity is 500, $500,000, you can get it for 200,000. Will you do it? Right?
Yeah, all day.
It to anyone that has money, they're going to jump into it. So if you don't have any money, right? It's just to be very good at finding deals. And that is why you need to have the knowledge on how to look at deals and how to underwrite a deal. Once you have that, when you find a good deal, you don't have to worry about money, because investors going to invest in it if you find a good deal. So that's the secret. You don't have to be rich to invest in commercial real estate. You just have to know how to find a good deal.
So we have the money, right? You can have the money to get into the deal. You can have the relationships to get into a deal, or the hustle, right?
Yeah.
Bring the deal.
Right. Go find it. Call everybody up. Go knock on the doors, right? Find out who the owner is. Hey, are you open to selling, right? And underwrite the deal. If it's a good deal, send it to somebody like Calvin. Hey, Calvin, you got an investor that might be interested in this type of deal? All right. Yeah, send me the numbers. Let's go. Right. Right. And the only requirement is, hey, I just want 10% equity, or I want a finder's fee, whatever. Right. We can do that in the commercial world, right? The residential deals, it's kind of hard. You can't really just find the deal and get paid. Right. So it's more harder in the residential world. But no, that was a great tip, Calvin. And so, yeah, like you said, this was just kind of the tip of the iceberg here. Your partner, Mr. Panda, right? Daniel, we might have him come on in a future episode to really go deep into the retail stuff, because he's like kind of the retail king, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll have to see when he's available, because he's super busy. But yeah, we'll have to talk about commercial retail investing here with Daniel. But thank you so much, Calvin. Where can people find you real quick?
So if you look at the background, it's my Instagram is calvin.realestate. I do a lot of content just talking about commercial real estate. Or you can go to my YouTube channel, Cap Rate Jedi. Just hit me up on those, send me a message. We can, love to talk more about commercial real estate because that's what I do, and really have the passion and in it, because I grow up through investing in commercial properties, and I want all of you guys to really get to know to invest in commercial real estate. Again, if you get sick and tired of managing toilets, if you want some freedom from that, or like phone calls, like if you don't want any phone calls during midnight, it's like, oh, my AC is broken, come fix it, or things like that. Or commercial, it's where you want to be at.
Awesome. All right, Calvin, thank you so much for being here. This was an awesome episode. And of course, all the listeners out there, whether you're watching live or replay, hit the like, subscribe, and share with anybody else that would get value out of here. So we will see you in the next episode. Later, guys.
Thank you. Bye.